them, or they got too close, they'd suddenly stop and back off and look worried. And it was obvious that they'd, every time they'd had human contact, it was probably involving a needle or being pulled or pushed about.
Hello, Tara.
One of the first jobs I had to do was to go and health check the dogs.
Hello. That's okay. That's a good boy. You're 1091, that's right. Your ears and your nose. No abnormalities. Just got to look at your teeth.
They did show me what to do, but it says in the Home Office guidelines that it has to be done by a competent person. And I didn't really know what I was looking for, and I definitely didn't feel competent on my first day at work.
Testing.
I was shown how to pick up the dogs. You take them by the scruff of their neck, and then you support them under their rib cage with one arm to take the weight off them. But the guy that was in there with me, he'd pick them up, and they'd be, they'd yelp. And then he'd just hold them there, and he'd start talking to me and telling me something else. And he'd just be holding it like this, with this dog hanging there, and all its muscles, all its skin taut over it. I was really shocked. I was just so glad that my first day was over, and I could get out of there. I just never realised there were just so many experiments of that sort going on. I think of these puppies in their concrete cages and how they're sort of craving for attention, and they're never going to see outside, they're never going to sort of play in grass, and they're never going to be, petted and loved by anybody. They're just basically going to be, have herbicides forced down their throats or injected into their veins until they're put down, and they're never going to have a life. It's now coming up to the end of my first week, and today we had to go and pick up some new dogs from the quarantine unit.
Is this one going in there too?
They come from a breeding centre just down the road, where they're specifically bred for experiments.
One more now? Oh no, it's... We'll have to do 2 loads. 2 loads, do you reckon? Hello. Come on, you. Don't be all nervy. Don't be all nervy.
The older dogs were really nervous. They don't seem to have been handled much at the breeding centre.
Have they not been handled much then?
No.
It's okay.
Getting good.
Spoke too soon. Morning. Okay, right. Hello, hounds. How'd you come? How'd you come and play?
Today, I got stopped and told that the reason it was taking me so long to clean out the cages was because I was putting too much bedding in. I was putting 2 spadefuls of sawdust into each dog pen, and I've been told just to put 1 in, and it mustn't be piled up either. So these dogs have 1 spade of sawdust scattered over their pen, which is soiled, and nothing to actually sleep on, no bedding or anything, just on the concrete.
Puppy! Come on! Okay. 1 spade of sawdust. That's all you're allowed. In it goes. You're a sweetie. Yes, you are.
One thing that was really upsetting was that the puppies were all excitable and wanted to play, and there's nothing for them to play with. They're basically on concrete, and they play in this walkway for half an hour a day. And they run up and down, but because it's concrete, they can't stop, and they go flying into the doors at the end. I took what I'd filmed to show John Gripper, a vet and an international expert on animal welfare. So, John, could you explain to me what you thought of the way the dogs were being kept there?
I thought that the pens were quite a good size, and that the putting down sawdust and cleaning that out each day was fine. What I was concerned about was the amount of exercise that the dogs were getting, but But my greatest concern was there seemed to be no sleeping accommodation. There didn't seem to be anywhere where the dogs could actually sleep at night other than just on the concrete floor.
In the Animals Act 1986, the Code of Practice states bedding and nesting material should be provided. Even wooden boards or newspaper would do, instead of the one spadeful of sawdust my dogs were getting. The code also says there is always the need for dogs to have regular human contact, and that dogs should have access to adequate exercise areas. When my dogs were left alone virtually all the time and were only let out in a corridor for up to an hour a day. I'm now in my second week, and I really need to find out more about these tests.
Hello, you.
During lunch, I sneaked back into my unit and had a look at the books. I found out that there's this test coming up which is injecting into dogs a medical drug. It's going to be used for scanning human livers. It's for a Japanese company. And, as I found out on my first day, there's 3 tests which are going on at the moment. 2 are herbicides and 1's a fungicide, and they're also for Japanese companies. The agrochemicals are in capsules and they're given to the dog orally, at least 1 every day for a year, and not injected as I first thought.
He's not having it.
It's just messing, isn't it?
I couldn't believe it, because when I'm making up these capsules, they were taking shortcuts to make it easier for themselves. And also they filled out the day books, and they were making mistakes. It all just seemed really sloppy.
Do they often make you redo the doses?
They often make you what?
Redo the doses.
We did yesterday. Because I made the dose up with the wrong decimal to the wrong decimal point. And Rob was saying to us, oh, you got those done quick, now to go back up there and redo them. But the thing is, trying to get them exactly on the number he wanted, and the only way you can do that is, you might get 1 like that, but to get 7 like that, when they're that small, it's near enough impossible. Then he stood here and watched me while I was doing them again. Oh, bastard. Typical, I couldn't even fiddle it then.
That's not for tomorrow. It's today.
It's 14th today. It is. It's my parents' wedding anniversary.
Oh, what's it's done the book wrong, hasn't he? Even though he's not here, he can manage to do the book wrong.
This morning I saw the Home Office inspectors arrive, and I didn't know who they were at first because they were just dressed in suits and they had these lab coats over the top, and so they could have been clients or they could have been vets. And they came in and they started chatting to the animal technicians, and they wanted to know what experiments were going on, and they told them that it was all capsules or pre-dose. And so they just said, oh, so there's nothing for us to see then at the moment. And then they just started chatting about the pictures on the walls. And they didn't actually, I didn't see them go into any of the units and look at the dogs. And this is the second time I've seen them arrive, and on neither time have I seen them check any dog in my units.
Hiya.
Alright.
Oh,
Right way up, right way up.
got it.
It's now my 4th week, and I'm expecting this to be the worst day so far, as they're going to start intravenously injecting my puppies with the drug used for liver diagnosis. After that, they're going to have to go through a series of blood tests all day.
12:03 for 15.
22, Zoe.
Hello, it's little tiny one. Come here, sweetheart. Little ruggy-tailed?
It started off with they had to go in a sling, and the drug was given intravenously into their front leg vein. And some of them threw up as it was being injected in.
I don't know where this drug's going, Dog, but this needle's not holding it. It's just in your vein.
Is it really viscous, that stuff, then?
Like syrup.
Oh, God, dog. We was in there so well.
Every dog had already gone through having the chemical injected into its vein, and then I had to go and collect them 9 more times to have blood samples taken throughout the day.
Hello, sweetheart. You've had enough as well. You're such a good girl.
It took them several times to find a vein, nearly every time, with the needle going backwards and forwards into the skin. And then once it was actually under the skin, they'd be poking around trying to find a vein for anything up to 30 seconds.
Oh.
Even the technicians were saying that these dogs were just too young for this kind of experiment.
Good girl. Good girl.
Shit.
Can't find a vein?
No, is the word.
They're too young.
They are either, aren't they?
The dogs are too young. Too young, so the veins are too small.
Stay nice and still. Stay nice and still, sweetheart. That's a good girl.
I don't know how to suggest you hold it. You really... See, it's got a horrible sunken neck.
The first dog I did, it bled quite a bit on its chest, and all its white fur around it was going bright red, and I got blood down my arm and on my hand.
And this is 1605, yeah? Got her.
No, it's
No,
not.
it's 1600. Yeah, will do. Oh, 1121.
I really felt like I was one of the torturers today, which was really tough. I felt like I was taking them out there, and I was one of them. And that was really difficult. Having seen the footage, what do you think of the way the people handled the dogs? How did they deal with them?
I didn't like the way the dogs were handled at all. I felt that they were being handled very unprofessionally, and I felt that one got the very clear impression that the technicians and the people in charge of the dogs had no sympathy for these animals at all. They were being roughly handled, and it's quite unnecessary if you want, for instance, to hold a dog to take a blood sample or to do a dressing, to have to treat an animal in the rough way they were doing.
Under the law, these tests are only permitted if stringent safeguards are followed to prevent unnecessary suffering to the animals. And the Code of Practice states that all staff, both scientific and technical, should be sympathetic, gentle and firm when dealing with the animals. But the technicians I'm working with are really rough on the dogs, even though many of them have been here for over 12 years.
Oh, shut up. It's wet. I shouldn't sit back too far. He's pissed everywhere.
You had it shut up. Fucking sit still. I haven't got the patience today. I really haven't.
Now settle down.
Can't sit still there anyway.
Oh, don't mess about, dog. Sort of shake. You will anyway.
Oh.
Right. Certainly does.
Fucking hell! I'm really getting fucking mad with you! Every fucking time point!
Come here, Robert. Give him here.
Oh. Okay, little one.
Okay.
Right, we're ready then, Zoe.
During the blood test, 2 guys just messed around the whole time, making it far more difficult and meaning that they had to put the needle in the dogs over and over again, even more than usual.
Stop it! No, don't. Stop it. You're making it worse. We've got a very good light in here, haven't we, Andrew? Can you see? Look
I
at
can't see it, mate, no. That's if we sort of move past it a little bit.
No, don't.
Hit something then.
I've gone through it now. Andrew. Ooh,
Well, that worked, Andrew. You got into the vein.
Look, the vein's pumping, Andrew, now. You've got me on excited.
I still find it incredibly ironic that they seem to think that they're animal lovers. It's quite a big part of their lives, their pets at home, in their conversation. And they don't seem to understand or see that in the day they're cruel to dogs, and when they go home, they talk of themselves as animal lovers and play with their pets. I took the video evidence to a scientist, a specialist on medical research and animal testing, to see if the bad practice I had witnessed would affect the results.
Well, from what I have seen, Zoe, it's clear that these tests are not being conducted to international standards of good laboratory practice. You can see that in the way the chemical doses are prepared, in the way that the blood samples are taken from the dogs, and in the record keeping. And these sloppy practices are going to make the results of dubious value.
I'm now into my second month, and it's 2 weeks since the start of the tests. They're still injecting the puppies every day.
That's a good hound. Play with your ear. Take your mind off it.
Go the other leg. See, if you'd have sat still.
When we were injecting the chemical into one of the puppies last week, the animal technician got very angry that the dog had moved and the needle came out. And so he just squirted the rest of the chemical into the bin. And then I took the dog back and put it back in its cage. He said to me, "You didn't see that."
No.
When they inject the dogs, the legs swell up, and the drug irritates the surrounding skin.
Okay.
The dogs are constantly monitored by a vet, but I can see the effect the drug is having on them.
Oh, sweetheart. Oh, you're shaky, aren't you? You're all shaky, aren't you? I'm going to write that down. Yes.
One has had to be put down already, and I found another one had excreted blood all over its cage. My dogs are now nearing the end of their lives, and I need to find out if this experiment is really necessary.
You're a sweetheart, aren't you? Yes, yeah. You're a little sweetheart, you are.
Do you understand why they repeated the dose so many times and to such high levels with these puppies?
Well, obviously every drug has to be tested for unexpected effects at high doses, but I can't understand why this particular drug, which in human patients will only be used once or twice, I can't understand why this test used daily doses at 10 times the maximum human dose level over a 4-week period. That seems excessive and unnecessary to me. In this case, this test's been done after the drug has already gone through 2 stages of clinical trials in human volunteers and human patients. So the drug company already knows what is the most effective dose to use and already knows from human studies what the likely short-term side effects are.
I'm now in my 8th week, and my dogs are about to be put down, after 4 weeks of testing and another grueling day of blood tests. The hardest one was number 1612, which was my favourite.
Sweetheart.
I knew her character, and she was a really sweet hound who always wanted human contact. Somehow I felt it was going to be a relief for this puppy, but it seemed so terrible that she'd had to endure so much. They'd been injecting her with the chemical every day up to today.
Hi. Is that okay to come in?
Someone put the dogs down, and they seemed to be really professional in the way they did it. They just used this massive dose of anaesthetic. And they seemed really caring, but it was still really hard to see them die.
There's no bone marrow on these, are there? 231. 231. Right.
Mhm.
Step this way.